There are games that are excellent and stick with you for a long time. Conversely, there are games that are garbage and that you wish you hadn't spent the money on them to begin with. So which one is Martha is Dead? Stick around. Welcome to my review of Martha is Dead. Made by LKA, which is the same company that made, or developer, that made The Town of Light. I actually enjoyed The Town of Light, and this game is similar. It has a similar sort of premise, but even weirder. I won't do a whole thing on The Town of Light because that's not the subject of this video, but I will say that they're similar games and they take place even in the same universe, as is discovered by the end of the game. Now anyone who knows me knows that I enjoyed The Town of Light. I gave it an A+, which for me is a perfect score. But does Martha is Dead have the same merits? Well, to find that out, I'm going to go through certain categories. Well, mostly two. One being gameplay, the other one being narrative. I didn't even touch on gameplay in my Town of Light video review, simply because the gameplay meant nothing. It was simply a way to go from point A to point B to point C for the narrative to do its job. So I didn't even bother doing anything with it. This time I will, because this time the gameplay has actual meaning. So let me go ahead and go for the gameplay first because it'll be simpler. For the most part, it is the exact same way. Go from point A to point B to point C. But there are two factors that make me actually include this time. Factor number one, all of the seemingly useless side missions. Now, this will tie in with the narrative to some degree, I am sure, but there were a lot of side missions that seemed to have no merit in anything. What do I mean by that? The phone numbers to call and the communication cable to cut and anything else that may lead to, for example. Now, I called several of the phone numbers on the telephone, and none of them amounted to anything substantial whatsoever. Maybe others that you can call do, but from what I did, they didn't. On top of that is the communication cable. Now, maybe that leads to something, maybe it doesn't. Truth be told, I don't know. Why do I not know? Because I couldn't even fucking do it if I wanted to. There's only one side to climb up on that telephone pole. I climb up it, and I can't do shit. The only thing I can do is open the map. Like, I can't do anything. I can't even open the inventory. And I tried more than once. So the fact that there are all these missions to do that don't... Okay, I have no doubt that these side missions are intended with the purpose of being able to flesh out light on some of these things, like whether or not Lapo, for instance, is real. But in hindsight, it doesn't really matter if those things are real or not once you get to the center of the main narrative. You already have a grasp on whether or not enough stuff is real as it is. It's not really necessary, and that's one major gripe I have about the gameplay. The other one being the glitches and technical issues. Normally, I'm not one to shit on technical issues because they're not really part of the game, but in Martha's Dead case, I kinda have to. The technical issues are really bad. There were times when the game wouldn't load up. There were times when the rooms wouldn't load up within the games. There was a lot of freezing, and the game, this is the worst part, the game would freeze. I am not exaggerating, every 10 fucking minutes or less. Now, LKA released a patch for this in order to ameliorate the problem. It did for the most part, but there was still one time where it fucking crashed anyway. And to make matters worse, half the time when it would crash, it was right in the middle of this fucking 5 to 10 minute long thing of dialogue and cutscenes that are unskippable, by the way. And so you have to sit through the same shit that you just sat through for 10 fucking minutes. And not to mention, as soon as the fuck you get past that again, it fucking freezes again. It really trained me to save manually every fucking chance I got, because you never knew when these long ass segments were going to come up that you could not save under. That was the main fucking thing. But now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and go to the weirder part, which is the narrative. Normally I would go to something like Atmosphere, but to be honest, this is a indie game without much behind it. I understand that the developers did everything they could with what they had, but it's not much to speak of, so I won't even speak of it. So as far as the narrative goes though, it's trippy. Okay, the first one was trippy too, but this one is okay, like, the difference between this one and Town of Light is by the time the Town of Light is done, you have a grasp on what's going on. You generally know what was real, what was fabricated, and what was made up by the insane asylum itself, Volterra. With this one, there's no such luck. With this one, you really don't know what is and isn't real. The only things you know for certain, or else I think you know for certain, the mother was a bitch, The father was an Italian guy working with the German army, at least as far as I know. The white lady may or may not have been real. I don't even fucking know. But the interesting thing about this whole thing, though, is that the main bitch, I've seen this in novels and in movies slash television, mainly movies, where you'll have an unreliable narrator, which is basically it's when you don't really know what's going on. Like, what is presented to you might not be true. Thing is I don't think I've ever seen that in a game before, except for maybe Town of Light, and it's interesting. Now, to make matters even better, or worse, depending on how you look at it, is that you don't even know until like 4/5 of the way through the game that it is, in fact, an unreliable narrator. There are certain things you definitely know. The game doesn't present it very well, though, until the very end, because I'm not gonna lie, I got a lot wrong based on the simple conversations about whether or not the mother truly was a bitch, about what the fuck was going on with Martha. One of the most confusing things at the very end for me was Martha, because Martha was all upset, oh my god, I'm gonna find out what happened. Like, apparently the mom didn't kill Martha at all, and that was all made up, because here's the way I interpret it. The mother was a bitch, cooked her own fucking dog, made her fucking eat it. And so she put this whole thing in her mind where her mom kills her. Far as I'm concerned, 80% of this game is in her fucking head. I'm not going to go over the whole fucking narrative because I expect people have already played that. But here's what I think really happened, okay? Because what really happened and what the game shows are two different fucking things because the unreliable narrator. If you've played the game, you know what the game presents. As far as what really happened, the mother was a bitch, caused her to basically have split personalities. From there, she started going a bit nuts, and the mother was psycho, just so that's clear. The mother was an absolute fucking psycho, but the daughter was too. The daughter was because of the mother. Mother calls an insane asylum. She kills the mother. I do believe that. She kills the mother straight up. She goes to the church and becomes part of the insane asylum. When she cuts her wrist at the end, as far as I'm concerned, that's her killing herself in the asylum. She has nothing better to do. She masturbates 24/7 to the point where her vagina hurts. And she's like, she kills herself. That's how I think this is to be. Now, what's the moral in all this? Fucked up shit. Now, one thing I'll say, I knew that the mother did not kill Martha, even whether or not all that shit's real. After the game displayed that she has blackouts. Once the game displayed that she has blackouts, I had no doubt in my mind that was the case. So like I was saying earlier though, what's the moral of this? This narrative is trippy as hell. I've already mentioned the censorship bullshit, nonsensical shit from Sony, so there's no reason to go over that again. I would just like to say that, if you want to know my thoughts on the censorship, then watch my playthrough if you haven't. That's the intention here. But I think the moral of this game is exactly what the message at the end of the game says, which is where if you feel like you need help, there's a crisis center available. Honestly, I don't know what else to say about it than that. It's a good psychological thriller where you don't really know what the fuck's going on. And then aside from that, it is what it is. I don't have much to say about than that. So all in all, that's pretty much my review. There wasn't much to it, but honestly, this game isn't that long, and the main point of it is the psychological thrillerness and the unreliable narrator. So at this point, I think I've pretty much gone over everything that I can. So with that being said, let's go ahead and do a final grading and then say toodaloo. I do like this game. It has a lot of problems though. I will give this game a B-. That's my rating for the game. If you liked it, good on you. I did too, that's why I gave it a B-, but it had some problems. That being said, I think that's about the end of the review. Nothing really else to say. If I have anything else to say, then I will include it hither. Until then, that's about it. So, Martha's Dead is a decent game. I liked it. A little bit above average, but not by much. That's it. So, until then, thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed the game as much as I did, and have a good day.